Hey everyone, we should be live. Give me just 1 second to make sure that everything is functional. Let me see. Yeah, looks like I have an excellent connection and things are flowing. Hello there. Yeah, can we get a sound check to make sure that everything is hunky-dory? So, hey guys, I see Echter Kafir, I see Bruce, Erkin, thank you very much for joining us again, and I see, yeah. Right guys, so today the plan is, as you know, to talk about the Crusades. Now, I'll probably break this into two parts. I've done a lengthy show about this in the past, more than one, and I want to talk about some of the reasons for the Islamic Crusades, right, or the Islamic Jihads. And the Crusades were obviously a defensive response to this. And in fact, the Crusades were the event that ensured that Europe was saved for 200 years, which allowed it some breathing room to grow its power and eventually repel Islam. Islam nearly completely dominated Europe and would have turned Europe into the same mess that the Middle East is today. What's Orion Sirius? What is it that you can prove you're not joking? This is live, Bruce. This is me. I am so I am talking to you live from my house, right? So yeah, and Orion Sirius, what exactly are you wanting to prove that you're not joking about? If you can clarify that, perhaps. Okay, I have no idea who you are. I have no idea what you're talking about because no other comments have come through. So either you behave. I'm not seeing your first message. Hello, everyone. Hey, Najwan. So, yeah, yeah. So I have no idea what the discussion is about there. I'm just going to turn off this one particular element in the stream here. Excellent. That's gone. Right. So, yeah, guys, any questions before we begin, since I will be talking about the Crusades? Okay, drop them in the chat. I'm just going to begin. Let me shift myself over to this side. Hello there, Stephen. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bless you as well. And thanks, you guys, for all the support. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show last night with Us Truth. We'll be doing many more in the future. And of course, I've got something interesting planned for next week with Shamu and Kakan. It's going to be fascinating. So, the Crusades, it's very important that we learn the truth, that we are able to push back against a lot of the false ideas that we are told about the false narrative that is being pushed to destroy Western civilization. It's very important that we do realize we do have enemies. Now, the History Channel, some time ago, okay, this would have been obviously in 2008, they aired a show called The Secrets of the Quran. And of course, they didn't reveal any secrets, they just simply told lies that Muslims weren't told about the Quran. So the show explained the ideology of jihad as a result of the Crusades. Of course, the truth is the opposite. The Crusades were the result of the jihad. And of course, this very positive discussion, which didn't, obviously these people didn't want to be Islamophobic, they affirmed that Muslims are only supposed to use force in self-defense. And this is a blatant lie. Okay, buddy. So look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in timeout, right? And when you have something sensible to say, you may come back. Now, it's not true that Muslims may only use force in self-defense. This is, and we will discuss this as we go through the actual discussion of the most authoritative of the Islamic scholars, as we go through the Sharia, right? As we go through the major Islamic law, the sacred law. Now, of course, there are Muslims who go, well, you know, you didn't know what the Sharia is. Now, like they all, just so you know, every single Muslim asks, do you know what the Sharia is? Guys, get a new question, get a new script, get a new narrative, get off that stupid script. Yes, the Sharia is the distillation of what was in the Quran and the Sunnah, as well as the Sirah, which is always somehow forgotten. And this is what the scholars have derived as the laws, the timeless moral laws, the timeless legislation of Allah, and from the example of Muhammad. The fiqh is the application of all this. However, even in Islamic circles, people simply say Sharia to mean, well, you know, Islamic law in general. So when I say Sharia, I understand there's a distinction between Sharia and fiqh, as do your own scholars. However, people just tend to use the two terms synonymously. So yeah, if you want to, please quote me as a Muslim from your fiqh. I know it's not legal for you to do so. I know you're not allowed to do so. I know that you cannot and may not do so, but please go ahead and try. So, right. Hey there. Vitam Marek, how are you doing? Right. So, guys, now lots of events are always glossed over with regards to what happened in the Crusades. Now, the Umayyads were never even mentioned during the show in the original Islamic conquest of Syria, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, and Egypt, which is very, very visible on maps, was discussed in no detail and always just characterized as, spreading the word of Islam, as if there was no violence involved, no warfare involved. Right. Now, this narrative is a grave distortion of the facts. Right. So you had the original Islamic conquest. Remember, the Middle East was originally Jewish and Christian, right? So the Middle East was originally, remember, Jesus came from Israel, right? And that portion, that area around Jerusalem, let's say, and that message spread Turkey, Asia, North Africa, right? All of the churches, if you look at Paul's letters, right, of the 7 letters, I think it is, 6 of them are now in Islamic countries, right? Only Rome is now still a Christian country. Well, of course, in the West, we separate church and state, whereas in Islam they do not, because they do not see a division between church and state. As you will know, or may not know, this idea of the conjoined nature of church and state in Islam was actually started by Al-Ghazali, or he codified that idea. He's the scholar that made that idea something sound, which is now part of the culture. It was always obviously part of it, but he's the one who wrote it out and made it into the clarified idea that there is today, because the state protects the religion. The religion is the state, and the state protects the religion. That's how they viewed it. But that's discussion again for another time. So, any questions? Okay. No, this is not a premiere tomorrow. This is me going live. So, Islam was initially viewed as a religion just for Arabs, and you'll see this in the Quran. But the earliest non-Arab converts, they became affiliated with an Arab tribe, right? And their status was then subordinate. So equality for all Muslims was in general the achievement of the Abbasid revolution. So there was historical progression. Islam changed through the centuries. The Islamic conquest was in the name of Islam, but its aim is very simply domination. Now, of course, I have discussed before, and I will discuss today again the meaning of Deen. It is very important that you realize Islam is a Deen, not a religion. It's a very simple convention. Yes, I answered your question tomorrow. Let me actually go here, and let me bring up once again the definition of Deen. So let's go here without going to overly too much detail. Lisan al-Arab, the Arab tongue, was completed in 1290. It's 20 printed book volumes, right? It's the most authoritative, longest Arabic dictionary, right? So, and this is what it tells us. And I've done this before, but it's important that you remember this, right? It is necessary to resort to a detailed linguistic analysis for substantiating each with revealed and other sources. Blah, 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 blah. So the Lisan al-Arab suggests 4 meanings of the term Deen. The first meaning is subjugation or dominance. This is political. This is not religious. This is entirely political. Then it suggests administrative or legislative authority, law, because Islam is a religion of law. Now it has 2 divisions. You have the Sharia and the Haqiqah, right? So in Islam, you've got the Fuqaha and you have the Sufi. The Sharia is the domain of the Fuqaha, right? The fiqh, that comes from the word fiqh. So you've got the scholars who are lawyers. They're not priests, they're lawyers. Their job is to handle the legal aspects of Islam, because every word and every action of Muhammad and Allah are considered lawful. Hi, Dragona. Thank you very much. Yeah. So now, then you've got, on the other side, you've got the Haqiqah, which is, very loosely speaking, I'm not going to get into this very much, but it is you might think of it as the religious aspect, the spiritual aspect. Actually, it is the mystical / occult aspect of Islam. The occult aspect of Islam is restricted entirely to the upper tier of the scholars, the very top tier of the scholars, right? So remember, Islam's divided into 4 divisions, right? You've got the you've got the Ibara on the bottom, the plain meaning, the basic understanding for your lay Muslims, right? This is Islam for the masses, the Ibara. Then you have the Ishara, right? Your Imams, your basic ulama. Then you've got the Lata'if and then the Haqqaiq. So the mystical religious understanding of Islam is purely for the top 2 levels, and those are for the Sufi. Islam is all occult. I'm actually going to show this. Alpha Omega, you're correct, but it's more cult than you realize. It's People have no idea what Islam is. Once you read their books, you have no idea. And if I start talking about it, it's going to sound like I am telling you that I saw a UFO or that Bigfoot's my dad. Do you understand? It's going to get very weird if I do go there, but that's for another time. So there are four meanings of the term Deen. The first meaning, subjugation or dominance, right? Administrative or legislative authority, to put pressure, to be obedient, or using power to enslave or to make someone obedient. Don't forget, the Sharia applies not just to Muslims, the Sharia applies to you, right? So in Arabic, Dintuhum fadanu means I subjugated them, so they obeyed me. Also, Dintuhu means I ruled or governed upon him. So it is dominance, it is force, it is legal force, right? Thus, so Islam is political and military. We clearly see the political and military connotations. We're not seeing religious connotations. So Dayan is used to indicate a person who dominates and rules over a state, nation, or tribe. The second meaning is obedience and bondage, subordination and domination by someone, and bearing humiliation under subjugation and power of others. That's unfortunately the situation that dhimmis find themselves in, right? So dhimmis are subjugated, they're dominated under the power. And dhimmis must be humiliated. There is no dignity once you're a dhimmi. So I subjugated them, so they obeyed me, because it is this for the scholars of Islam, we as Christians and everyone else have to obey the Muslims. Yes, correct, Marek. It is a totalitarian system. Yeah, it is very communist in many ways. So the obedient tribe is called blah, blah, blah. And here, Deen does not mean religion, but it means obedience. The third meaning is rules, regulations, ideology, doctrine, custom, tradition, or religion. And finally, the fourth meaning is reward, repayment, justice, and accountability. Effectively speaking, the what we call from the Western point of view, the quote unquote religious aspect of Islam is roughly 3, 4, 5% of the entire doctrine. So of course, as very intelligent scholars and religious, you know, evangelists and so on, we focus on that 5% and go, good grief, we really have to focus on this. Let's just ignore the other 95%. And this is where Western scholars and the people who was responsible for doing evangelism, for doing apologetics, are negligent, right? So yeah, so I'll leave that for the moment, and let's go back to the Crusades. So let's go back to this. So now the History Channel, of course, glosses over everything that it didn't like in Islam, and so now you've got the ideology of jihad only exists because of the aggression of the Crusaders, and war in Islam is supposed to be used only for defense. This is the narrative that they're trying to push. Right. Now you can read through some of this later, but now we had the Arab conquest of the Middle East, where the Turkish conquest of Romania and Hungary, right? Then you've got lots of dishonesty, right? So let's actually skip over this. Let me go here. I want to show you this. This is a timeline of the Islamic Crusades from the year 630 to 1095. The first crusade started in the year 1095. In 630, Muhammad conquered Mecca by force of arms from his base in Medina with 30,000 men. He dies in Medina, and Islam now controls the Hijaz. 636, Muslim conquest of Syria and the surrounding lands, all Christian, including Palestine and Iraq. 637, Muslim crusaders, the jihadis, conquer Iraq. 638, they conquer Jerusalem, taking it from the Byzantines. 638 to 650, Muslim crusaders conquer Iran, except the Caspian Sea area. Then they conquer Egypt in 639 to 642. Then they conquer Syria and Palestine. Then they conquer all of North Africa and destroy 10,000 churches. Don't forget, anything prior to Islam is from the time of the Jahiliyyah, right? The time of ignorance, the time of barbarism prior to Islam. So anything and everything prior to Islam is considered barbarism. That's why ISIS was blowing up statues. That's why they're destroying everything that came before, because all these things are from barbarism. They have to level them, destroy them, wipe them from the face of the earth. And therefore they will not be kind. That's why 10,000 churches were destroyed in North Africa. There's no record of them anymore. Something like 1,000 churches were destroyed on the border with Turkey and Armenia. 1,000 churches. There's ruins left of some of them, right? So 400 years, they're still um, slaughtering Christians, still crusaders. Islam believes the world belongs to them, right? See, here's the thing that, again, people don't understand. You have to understand the doctrine. You ignore the Quran. Honestly, just ignore that book. It's a waste of your time. you need to understand how the verses of the Quran and Hadith were eventually taken, put into the tafsir, and from there moved across various commentaries and ultimately ended up in Sharia, with the top scholars giving the exegesis. It's as if we were. I watch Christian apologists and academics read the Quran as if Muslims haven't had 1400 years to do exegesis of all of the Islamic sources like the Hadith and the Quran, extract all the meaning from that, write it down, codify it, document it, and explain it. As if this never happened. And we go, Quran 65:4. Who cares what Quran? No, you don't go there, because Quran 65:4 is like 30 words, 20 words. I can go to the Sharia, which has like 50 pages of highly detailed laws explaining precisely what that means. Why would I read a vague Quranic verse which has a contradictory verse? So they always all have contradictory verses somewhere else in the book, when I can go to the Sharia, which is black and white and unambiguous, right? It's honestly, so so what are we talking about? Here's just an example. There's nothing wrong with Santa. I like Santa. I like presents. Don't you like presents? No. So now look at this. From 644 to 650, Muslim crusaders conquer Cyprus, Tripoli, right? They establish Islamic rule in Iran, Afghanistan, and India. Then they go to Constantinople. Then the Dome of the Rock is completed in Jerusalem. Then they conquer the lower Indus Valley. Then they go to Spain. So in 711 to 713. Now, they say that Muslims are angry because of the Crusades, and that they are invading and doing whatever they do because of the Crusades. Now, what the heck were Muslims doing invading Spain in 711? What were they doing? Seriously, what were they doing there at that time? Then the Muslim conquest moves into Europe proper. In 718, the conquest of Spain was complete, and in 732, the invasion of France, and they nearly took over half of France. They were 20 kilometers approximately from the capital, Paris. What were they doing 20 k's from Paris, right? What the heck? In 732, were the French invading? No, no. Were the French in the Middle East? No. Don't forget, within 3 years of Muhammad's death, the Muslims have invaded something like 28 countries. So within 3 years of Muhammad's death, Muslims have invaded 28 countries. And I'm pretty sure those 28 countries hadn't invaded them first. Okay? So if anyone asks you, Islam always hits first. Now, one of our problems is our mothers taught us to count to 10. Muhammad taught Muslims to count to 3, maybe 2, right? So they're going to hit you a lot faster than you're going to hit them, right? So, Edgar, no problem, thanks. So, yeah, that's trying to destroy history, Western civilization, and Christianity. Yes, sounds like it is socialism. It is very much like socialism. So, yeah, so understand, you've got from 732, right? You've got 762, the foundation of Baghdad. Look at this timeline, look at this history, right? These guys have been invading Christian lands, right? In 831, they captured Italy, Palermo, Italy. There were raids in southern Italy. They took half of Italy for 400 years. For 400 Islam until they were kicked out. Within 100 kilometers of the coastline of southern Italy, no one lived because pirates were capturing all the women and taking them back to the Middle East as sex slaves. Understand? Now, we go on. So you've got the Turks convert and so on. Now, you've got, it just goes on. 1009, 1012, 1050, 1071, battles, 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 battles. And then in 1094, right, the Byzantine Emperor Alexius Comnenus the First asks Western Christendom for help against the Seljuk Turks because they were invading his territory. This is in 1095. This nonsense started in 630, and then it continued when they started to expand and started attacking everyone in sight. And it's true that Islam has bloody borders, right? So then what we have here, in 1095, a year later, Pope Urban II preaches the First Crusade, and they go and they capture the Jerusalem 4 years later. The Crusades were a response to 462 years of violence from Islamic armies. Let's have a look at some of this, right? So let me go down here. So now the Crusades were military expeditions, right? They were during the Middle Ages. They were conducted by European Catholics to defend Christian civilization. If they had not done so, Europe would have fallen. So the Crusades developed as a result of the Christian world's very long struggle with Islamic Jihad. So Muhammad formulated this concept of holy war, right? Calling on Muslims to subjugate non-Muslims through warfare. Now, I'll fix that up a little bit later. So between 8633 and 715, Arab armies conquered two-thirds of the Christian world, including Mesopotamia, that's Iraq, Syria, the Holy Land, Egypt, all of North Africa, and Spain. Between the 8th and 11th centuries, Christian lands were constantly invaded by Muslims. The Christians attempted to beat the Muslims back and recover territory that had been lost. Okay, so now let's just move forward a little bit here. So I don't have to go through everything. You guys, I've sent you the link in the. No, the Catholics were not persecutors. Look, I'm not a Catholic, but I will say the lies about the Catholic Church are insane. Now, I mean, you can disagree about Catholic Church and you can disagree about doctrine, and I'm Anglican, and honestly, if I look at what the Anglican Church is doing in England, I want nothing to do with them. Good grief, man. I don't recognize that part of the church anymore. It's like, huh? So yeah, but then again, that said, people make claims about the Catholic Church. So I live in Poland. I live in Warsaw. People say the Catholics worship Mary. Mary. That's what I've always heard my whole life. Now I live in a Catholic country. It's 98% Catholic. There's only Catholic churches. I go to church in a Catholic church. I've heard the word Mary said maybe twice in the last 2 years, right? It's insane. I haven't heard or seen a hint of all these claims that people make about the Catholic Church being Mary, Mary, Mary. You go to church, it's Jesus, 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 God, 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 Jesus, 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 God, God, God. And that's all I hear. I've heard the word Mary said maybe twice in 2 years. So I don't know. But were they Muslims? Yeah, were they real Muslims? No. So yeah, so Alpha Amiga, I'm not gonna allow this comment though about the that you've made. So I understand it's you're not being serious, but I'm just gonna disallow it for now if that's okay. So now, right, Islam attacked everyone in sight. Right, now let's have a look at a summary. So let's summarize this. And remember, I've given the link to this database. Right, it's in the top of the chat. Have a look. If you scroll up to the top of the chat. And it's also in the description, so you can follow along and see all of this. Yeah, we need to be very grateful for the Crusades. So the first Crusades began during the Middle Ages in the year 1095 as the result of a cry for help against invading Islamic armies. This happened, right? Oh, you're right. I can pin it. Let me go and find that link. Uh, Here we go. Thank you very much for that, Edkin. Yeah, it's now pinned. It's now a pinned comment. Guys, please check the pinned comment. Thank you very much for that. Right. Now, the first Crusades, right, occurred 460 years after the first Christian city was overrun by Islamic armies, 457 years after Jerusalem was conquered by Muslim armies, 453 years after Egypt was taken from Christendom by Muslim armies, 443 years after Muslim armies invaded and plundered Italy. What the heck were they doing in Italy? 427 years after Muslim armies laid siege to Constantinople, which was Christendom's eastern capital. 380 years after Spain was conquered, 360 years after France was invaded by Muslim armies, and 249 years after Rome itself was attacked by Muslim armies, which is why the Vatican has that massive, massive war because of Islamic invasion of Europe, right? Let's see, what's this woman saying? People is Deutsch. Oh my gosh. Okay, so why, Najwan? If you want to be stupid, please do it somewhere else. I want to put you in timeout for being dumb. And yeah, I'm South African. I'm African. I'm not that westernized. So yeah, I don't necessarily have the kind of filter over my mouth that certain other nationalities do. So, and also, the work that I did was to prevent jihadis from blowing things up and killing people. I didn't stand up and go and evangelize. I stopped deadly Muslims from killing other Muslims. Understand? So I take a different view of this. Now, the Crusades happened after only 4 centuries of church burnings, killings, enslavement, and forced conversion, including sex slaves, right? So 462 years later, there was the Crusades, and Muslims go, oh my God, how could you fight against us after we've been killing, raping, torturing, destroying, burning, and stealing your land for 462 years? And this is disgusting, right? So now, by the time the Crusades began, we lost 75% of Christian land, right? They'd been conquered, and the people had been forced to convert, or they were enslaved as dhimmis under Islam. Stephen Gilchrist, Surah 5, it's that damn Quran again. Yeah, Islam is worse than drugs, and that is very, very true. Now, without the sacrifices and the extremely heroic defense of Europe made by people like Charles Martel at the Battle of Tours, where he stopped the Muslim invasion of France, the Templar Knights, right, from 1129 to 1312, Al Cid's Reconquista in 1085, the Venetian fleet at Lepanto in 1571, and the Polish and the Austrians and the Germans, the Knights at the Gates of Vienna in 1683, and the Serbian Hashduks, who fought off the Ottoman Turks in 1804, Europe would have been converted to Islam, just like the Middle East and North Africa were. Imagine these areas were not Islamic. Imagine they were Christian like Europe, like America, developed, right? Culturally Christian nations. Imagine how powerful and prosperous they would be. But unfortunately, we've got the mess that is the Middle East, where I spent 11 years of my life. Now, I must tell you, 1683 Gates of Vienna. So Poland, yeah, and yes, exactly. Um, Now, King Jan Sobieski III, King Jan Sobieski, he was possibly the most famous of the Polish kings. He fought 20, 30, 40 battles against the Muslims, right? Against their armies, the Turks, as they invaded into Europe. So they invaded Poland multiple times. They invaded all across Europe. He eventually kicked them out. Okay, so this was their high point. 1683, they were going to take Vienna, right? And once they took Vienna, they were going to go to Rome. That was the aim. They were going to go to Rome, and they were going to stable their horses in St. Paul's Cathedral. And of course, the Poles and the Austrians and the Germans kicked their asses right out, right? And it did take a long time, though. Peace was only signed, I believe, in 1699, so something like 16 years later, the peace was signed. However, don't forget, on September the 11th, Europe was under assault by the largest Islamic army to ever invade, nearly 300,000 people, an army of about 230,000 men. And this date is significant, September the 11th, right? And at 4 a.m. on September the 12th, King Jan Sobieski went to war. And he, with 80,000 men, smashed an army of 240,000 men, kicked their behinds completely out of Europe, right? And the reason that Osama bin Laden chose September the 11th was because that is symbolic of the day that Islam was dominant in the Western world. Islam was poised to take Christendom on September the 11th. And oddly enough, no one reads his writing. Everyone loves their conspiracy theories, but my job was a little more practical. And this is why that date is important to them. Okay, because on September 12th, they had their asses kicked. September the 11th, they were dominant. September 12th, they were humble. Okay, so yeah, that is the importance of the date, September the 11th, to Osama bin Laden, who was a very, very good jihadi, right? A very, very serious Muslim. Now, understand, under this jihad, right, that began in the 7th century, three-quarters of Christendom was swallowed up by Islam. So, Stephen, do you prefer? Oh, well, no, thank you, Stephen. I haven't had a chance to check. I'm busy with this, but thank you very much. I'm not sure. I think Stream Elements might charge a fee. Which can be significant sometimes. I think I don't know exactly how it works, but thank you very much. I mean, I do appreciate it. So, yes, Stream Elements does go via PayPal, but there is a fee somewhere involved, and it can be right. So, any questions from you guys so far? Have I missed anything? If there is any comments, just highlight it, and I will try and catch it. Um, so I haven't, hopefully I haven't missed anything in the meantime. Now, understand, so let's have a look at some of the European nations and territories and others that were attacked or came under Muslim occupation, sometimes for centuries. Now, this is not a complete list. I did not complete this list, and this is something I need to spend time with. And if any of you have more information than me, please, by all means, pass it on. I'd be very interested in knowing more. Albania was attacked in the late 14th century. Armenia, 640 to 645. Now, I'm pretty sure we'll find no evidence of the Armenians going to attack the Middle East in that period, right? So, Osama bin Laden is the last. Okay, so then you've got Austria. They attacked Vienna in 1529 and 1683. They attacked Belarus, Bosnia Herzegovina, Bulgaria, 1396 to 1878. They attacked Crete in the 650s, and they stayed there till 961 when they were removed, right? Serious. A serious Muslim. Did he have a prepubescent 6-year-old wife? Yeah, no, maybe not. I don't know. But actually, let me just pop this in here. Yeah, who knows? Um, Yeah, the genocide in Armenia, exactly. They were finishing the job they started. They were simply finishing the job they started. And next, they attacked Denmark. Did you know that? Did you know that? They attacked France and they were kicked out of the Battle of Tours in 732. There were about 40 battles. Okay, they were in Georgia, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, the Baltimore. The Muslims went to Baltimore and Islands, the city of Baltimore and Ireland. They captured 100 women and children. The women and children were taken back as sex slaves and as slaves. What the heck were they doing in Ireland? Think about it. What did the Irish do in the Middle East to upset them? Well, nothing, obviously. Okay, yeah, people don't know. They attacked Italy more than once. They held half of Italy for 400 years. They were in Lithuania, Macedonia, Malta, Poland in 1669, 1671, and 1672 to 1676. What the heck were they doing invading Poland, of all things? And look, there's one thing I know about Polish people. They love a fight. Oh my God. The Polish don't give up. So, Romania, Russia, Sardinia, Serbia, Sicily, Palermo, 14 June 827 to 1091, Spain from 711 to 1492, 700 years in Spain, and the Ukraine from the 15th to the 18th century. What in the heck were they doing in these countries? Yeah, the Barbary Pirates, exactly. Now, there are links. If you go to the database, click on these links. These are actually some very interesting notes, and you'll learn some shocking information about how these Muslims invaded this long list of countries. It's incredible. Understand? They don't teach you this in school. They go, well, the look. Certainly, there were crimes committed during the Crusades, but that's war. That's war. That's people. People. However, right? They don't tell you this part. Did you think the Muslims were nice and sweet when they were doing their jihad across Europe? No. Yeah, so Dragona Daenerys says, yeah, Serbia was 500 years under the Ottoman Empire. Exactly. Right, so I'm going to play this now. I'm going to have to, I've got my earphones in. So I'm going to play this little video so you guys can watch this for a minute. We just enable the audio.
If you see a lot of sunken ships, there was a lot of ships sailing around. When they go down, the economy goes down. So from this data, we know a lot. And
so what I'm going to do is, this is Bill Warner from CSPI. He's going to give us a short video, 3.57 minutes, well, 3 minutes and 57 seconds, and he's going to explain what happened in Europe. So watch this. This is history that you do need to know. Okay, and then also from here, I'm going to switch a little bit to some of the Islamic texts, and you're going to see from the Sharia exactly why they do this. They have to do it. It's compulsory in Islam to do so. Okay, so I'm going to...
this, in particular, the database of ancient documents gives us 548 battles that Islam fought against the classical world. This is all new information. I've talked with people who consider themselves history buffs, and they go, well, let's see, battles of Islam against Europe. Let's see, we've got the invasion, we got Tours, we got the invasion of at Gibraltar, we've got Lepanto, Gates of Vienna, collapse of... Okay, that's 5. You talk to a historian, and those are the 5 battles they can scratch up. And I remind you, you can have all of these slides if you just send me an email for it. Okay, what does this new data show us? It shows us this. See the white spots? They're brand new battles. They're going to change to red. These are new. Every time, we're going to show you this all over again. Every tick is 20 years. The new battles for that 20-year period come up in white, then they fade to red to show you the history. So white's what's happening right now, red has happened. Let's see how these 548 battles act out over. We're going to watch, in 70 seconds, we're going to watch 1,200 years of conquest. Look how fast this is happening. Bam! Here comes... You didn't know France was hammered that hard, did you? You heard of Tours. Watch what's happening in Spain and the islands. Now, many of these raids or battles, if they're at the coastline, are slave raids. The slaving that took place in here was extensive and went on and on. All of this work is also happening now then. We're now into the golden age of Baghdad. This is the punishment that's being handed out to Christians everywhere. In Spain, after one battle, there were knights' heads were cut off, and they made a pile so high that a man on horseback couldn't see over them. All of the European civilization in North Africa is now gone. Now, pretty soon, and by the way, there will be a period of time, and you can see the clock running up here, there will be a brief blip of 5 battles that occur in North Africa, the Barbary Pirate Wars. We're on there, okay? Now then, Byzantium has fallen. Now then, Eastern Europe is being hammered. Notice that it is relentless. It doesn't stop. This is the history that you're never told about. This is the history that explains how all of this came about. Now then, they're getting slower because Islam is becoming weaker.
Why was it becoming weaker?
Corruption. All empires collapse from the inside ultimately. Okay. I say that what caused the collapse of classical civilization was not the invading German barbarian tribes. I say that classical civilization was destroyed by Islam.
Okay, I hope that was interesting. So what you have is a situation where previously there was trade. Islam stopped all the trade. So one of the reasons for the voyages of discovery, for instance, from Europe to India, the reason for Vasco da Gama, the reason for Columbus, was because Islamic conquest had cut off all the trade routes. And just like the caravan robber that Muhammad was, his followers, his followers all decided to do the very same thing. So those trade routes were no longer safe. They impoverished Europe and they caused the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages were not caused by the invasion of the Visigoths. They were caused by Islam cutting off all trade from North Africa, from Asia, and therefore the sea routes to the south were discovered so that they could move all the way and do trade again with the East. Understand, this is insanity. This is Islam, and this is the history they will not talk about. There was a question. I watched a doco from Ihaka Hati. I watched a doco that the USA was paying 20% of their GDP to Islamic countries to stop the Barbary pirates, but they didn't stop. So they decided to spend it in a fleet to kick their asses instead. Yes, that is true. So America was a new country, it's still formative, and there's actually George Washington's Quran, and Obama and others have tried to spin a story about it. But George Washington got himself a copy of the Quran so that he could understand exactly why they were doing what they were doing. And he and Thomas Jefferson asked the head of I think the Turkish consul general, the Turkish ambassador at the time, why they were doing what they did. And the Turkish ambassador very bluntly said, because, yeah, Thomas Jefferson's Quran, thank you, yeah. And he said, because Allah orders them to. Allah orders them to attack the infidel and take plunder from them. And America was paying 20% of its GDP as a young nation. It could not afford it, but it was paying that. And so eventually Thomas Jefferson and and so on, George Washington, decided, well, we need to do something. So they formed the Marines. And the first battles that the US fought after independence was against the Barbary pirates, against Islam, against Muslims in North Africa. And they were stopping slave trades. They were stopping raids on their goods. And yeah, so that's why the anthem of the Marines has "To the Shores of Tripoli," because they had to go to Libya to free their people. They had to go to Libya to stop these people who were robbing America. Understand? So this is history that you don't hear about. Canadian imams say, if you don't do something, avalanche about. Yeah, of course. Yes. They need more of an avalanche. To the Shores of Tripoli in the Marine Anthem. Exactly so. So again, people don't realize this, and we need to start to study our history. Now, obviously, I'm not going through every word in my text here. Again, you have access to it. Please download it. Thomas Jefferson kicked the asses of the Barbary pirates to the shores of Tripoli. Exactly. Right. Now, hi, Stephanie. Good to have you. Thank you. Yes. Now, so the Muslims invaded Jerusalem in the 7th century. Right? And don't forget, the high watermark was in Europe when they were defeated at Vienna on September the 11th, 1683. Now, if the Christians had not responded, if the Catholic Church, and guys, the Catholic Church saved Europe, okay? Everyone has lots to say about the Catholics, and, you know, if it was not for the Catholic Church, Europe would have been Islam. You'd be praying bent over with your ass in the air right now. Okay, so be grateful. Okay, get some perspective on history. Now, Pope Urban. Now, at the time, the doctrine of good. I've suddenly just forgotten the word, but the doctrine of the justified war. I think if someone can look it up for me and just give it to me, but because Christianity itself does not legislate war, yes, we would all be right. There was the doctrine of the moral war, something I can't remember. For some reason, the term just escaped my mind. But Pope Urban II said to Christians in the Crusader era, "For you, brethren, for your brethren who live in the East are in urgent need of your help, and you must hasten to give them the aid which has often been promised to them. For as most of you have heard, the Turks and Arabs have attacked them and have conquered the territory of Romania, the Greek Empire, as far west as the shores of the Mediterranean and Hellespont, which is called the Arm of St. George. They have occupied more and more of the lands of those Christians and have overcome them in 7 battles. They have killed and captured many, and have destroyed the churches and devastated the empire. If you permit them to continue for a while with impunity, the faithful of God will be much more widely attacked by them on this account. I, or rather the Lord, beseech you as Christ's heralds to publish this everywhere, and to persuade all people, whatever rank, foot soldiers and knights, poor and rich, to carry aid promptly to those Christians and to destroy that vile race from the lands of our friends." When I say what war, there was a term they used like a moral war or a just war, the just war doctrine that was developed specifically for the case of Christians going to war against Islam to save Christian lands and to save the lives of people, to prevent them from being enslaved. So, what does the current pope not condemn? Because the current pope is the pope of, he's the I'm sorry, Mark, but the current pope is the communist pope of Islam. I don't trust the current pope as far as I can throw an elephant, and I can't throw one at all. So the current pope, I don't trust that guy as far as we can throw a piano, man. Saint Augustine of Hippo was considering the moral consequences of war. He's one of the first people to articulate a philosophical statement on war and justice, known as the just war doctrine. Thank you very much, DHC. Much appreciated. Yeah, the current Pope, I mean, unfortunately, the Catholic Church has its problems, and the 1963 Vatican II document has a completely false view of Islam, calling it an Abrahamic religion and calling it a sibling, basically, of Christianity. And people have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, seriously have no idea. What was that noise? So between the 15th and 18th century alone, now we need to know something. I'm going to pause here and I'm going to switch over to some Islamic stuff for the last 15 minutes or so. Oh, wow. Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the contribution. That is fantastic. Thank you. So between the 15th and 18th century alone, okay, approximately 5 million Europeans were abducted and enslaved in the name of jihad. Now notice this. Let's deviate to the topic of slavery for 1 second. In North America, something like between 300,000 and 500,000 black slaves were taken from Africa to America, to North America. All right. However, something between 1.5 and 5 to 6 million white people were taken from Europe to Africa as slaves by Muslim slave traders. So, in other words, you have a minimum of 5 times more whites were taken by Africans to Africa as slaves than were taken from Africa to North America, and that includes Canada. North America includes both Canada and the USA. So you're looking at a maximum of 300 to 500,000 black slaves going to North America, and at least a minimum of 1.5 million that went to Africa, taken by Africans to Africa, taking white people. Understand now the hypocrisy of not condemning that when all you can do is condemn. And here's the odd thing: 14.5 million slaves went to South America. So brown people enslaved black people and sent them as slaves to brown people in South America, and no one says a word about that. That's hypocrisy. That's totally hypocrisy. You're worried about 300,000 blacks who were sent to North America and ignore the 14.5 million that went south, and the 1 to 6 million that went to Africa from Europe, as if it's okay. That, know your history. Don't take this nonsense from people. Understand. But that's a subject I can do another time. Let me just catch up with some of the comments. That is not an Abrahamic faith exactly. It's simply, if the church was as it was, the church was as it was in early ages, this pope would be excommunicated with no mercy. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'd throw him out seriously. He's a disappointment. He's a great disappointment. This pope. I don't trust this man at all. Yeah, I have no idea what he's doing as the pope, but yeah, he needs to go. That's my view. Um, yeah, the pope's in bed with the Sharia. Yes, I would say that that does seem like that's the case. I mean, the guy's very communist friendly. And Birkin, was there a comment from you? Don't see one. Okay, guys, now I'm going to switch over to something else for a minute. Now we got to talk about. Let me go to. So now I'm going to share my entire screen. I'm going to remove. I'm going to capture the whole screen, and I'm going to go. Okay, so you guys should be able to see this. So I'll go for a little while still. Peter Scherer, prediction on current Pope. If you call him a communist, he will reply, by the sacred beard of Karl Marx, this is a lie. Oh, yeah. I call him the Pope of Islam, man, because this guy, good grief, honestly. Now, Stephen Gold is right. People need to get the history right. Yes, we do. Pope condemns deadly terror attack in Sri Lanka. Just keeping things. No, look, certainly the guy. Look, I mean, the guy's got to play the whole PR card, right? He can't come out right and say, but honestly, seriously, I don't trust this guy at all. I mean, that's a different discussion. But given the history of this guy, given what I know, I don't trust him. Sorry. So now this is the Muqaddimah by Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun is a very famous man. So that's his face on some money over there, and he's known as the man who invented modern history, right? So this man is a 14th century historian, extremely famous. Now, let's have a look. He writes in his book, The Muqaddimah, an Introduction to History, which is the classic history, Islamic history of the world, right? What do you think about the Day of Islam? I've never heard of that, but dude, honestly, it bothers me. It bothers me seriously because the 1963 Vatican II document on its discussion of Islam, it's completely wrong, if not maliciously wrong. Look, here's the thing: if evil doesn't get you, ignorance will. And if it wasn't evil men who put those statements in there, then certainly the ignorance is going to catch up with them and have the same consequence. So now he says, now Ibn Khaldun is Islam's greatest historian, and he was a great Islamic scholar, a very learned Muslim, right? He was one of the ulama. So in the Muslim community, the holy war is a religious duty because of the universalism of the Muslim mission and the obligation to convert everybody to Islam, either by persuasion or by force. Therefore, caliphate and royal authority are united in Islam. In other words, there is no separation between mosque and state, right? So the person in charge can devote the available strength of the state to both of these at the same time. And he goes on to say the other religious groups did not have a universal mission. Holy war was not a religious duty to them, save for the purposes of defense. The person in charge of religious affairs in other religious groups is not concerned with power politics at all. Royal authority has nothing, okay, to do with religion. In other words, we have separation of church and state. Now he goes on to say, not because they are under obligation to gain power over other nations, as is the case with Islam. In other words, Islam is under the obligation to gain power over other nations. They are merely required to establish their religion among their own people. Right? They are merely required to establish their religion among their own people. Now, let's have a look at the Muqaddimah on the chapter called War by Sea. There's a lot more of this, and I'll probably break this into 2 episodes or more. So the royal and governmental authority of the Arabs became firmly established and powerful. The non-Arab nations became the servants of the Arabs and were under their control. Every craftsman offered his best services. The Muslims wished to wage the holy war by sea. That's that non-existent holy war that Muslims don't do. They embarked the army and fighters to fight against the unbelievers across the sea. Clearly, this highly educated Muslim is an enemy of Islam. So they embarked the army and fighters to fight against the unbelievers across the sea. This was the special concern of the provinces and border regions closest to the shores of the Mediterranean, such as Syria, Africa, the Maghrib, and Spain. So notice we did speak about that. I did mention that this is a problem. I just need to disable my camera for a second. Numan, the governor of Africa, that a shipyard be set up in Tunis for the production of maritime implements, as he was desirous of waging the holy war. From there, the conquest of Sicily was achieved in the days of blah, 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 blah. So understand, this is Islam's greatest historian telling us. Now, the most important doctrine in Islam is called commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. And it comes from Quran 3:104. That's the most important verse in the Quran. So let there be a group of you commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. And this verse explains that commanding the right and forbidding the wrong are a communal rather than a personal obligation. If enough people do it, meaning that whenever wrong is seen, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, let's not get too deep into that. But it's important for Muslims to command the right. In other words, to enforce the Sharia, to spread the Sharia. To forbid the wrong is to stop us from practicing our religions, to stop us from forbidding them from spreading their Islam. So anything that is not Islamic must be forbidden, and everything that is Islamic must be commanded, enforced, right? Now, notice it says in the Sharia, right, the obligatory character of jihad. Jihad is a communal obligation. When enough people perform it to successfully accomplish it, it is no longer obligatory upon others. So there will always be a small minority in Islam, always. It's compulsory that they must go out on jihad. That's fard al-kifaya, yeah. Now understand, there are people talk about extremism in Islam, and there is no extremism. Certainly, you can have extremism, which is doing Islam wrong, but that's a separate topic, right? That's something else. Scholars consider that something separate. There is no extremism. There is azima. There is no moderation. There is rukhsa. There is azima and rukhsa. What you call extremism, Muslims call azima, which is strict adherence to Islamic doctrine, strict adherence to the Sharia. It is doing the things as they are supposed to be done, as required by Allah. So a Muslim who goes around stabbing people on London Bridge or drives trucks over people is doing Islam as Allah requires it to be done. He's being strict. He's not extremism. It's full practice of Islam. Exactly. It's azima. It's doctrine that gets you reward from Allah. And the Muslims who don't do that, they are simply practicing rukhsa, which is dispensation or privilege. It's many other names, but those are two of the definitions of it. You are also rewarded for doing this because this is part of the doctrine, because not everyone should go out and fight in jihad. Repent. Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, guys, smash the like button. That would be fantastic. I would appreciate that. If you can share and like, this would be very, very useful. Yeah, moderate Islam is the incomplete practice of Islam, and exactly. And the Sharia will only be fully practiced at the end times. Understand? So let me step forward. Notice now, when they talk about rukhsa and azima, he who provides the equipment for a soldier in jihad has himself performed jihad. That's azima. That's rukhsa. Sorry. That's rukhsa. For instance, it's compulsory in Islam for a rich man to provide money for jihad, right? It's compulsory upon him. If none of those concerned perform jihad and it does not happen, if jihad does not happen, then everyone who is aware that it's obligatory is guilty of sin. Interestingly, if you read the Hidayah, it says that if those who know that jihad must be performed and they don't do it, they are guilty of a crime. In the Hidayah, it states you are guilty of crime against Allah. And Allah will punish you for it, for not doing jihad, for not going out and murdering people. Fantastic God that is. So letting these people into our country is a huge, huge mistake. But yeah, exactly. Here's the thing though, if everyone was aware of the actual nature of Islam, and as I go more into this in the future, it gets pretty ugly as you get into this. So yeah, so thank you. So yeah, there's a lot more of this, right? So now notice they mentioned here that there are two possible states in respect to non-Muslims, according to the Sharia. The first is that when non-Muslims are in their own countries, right? If we are in our own countries minding our own business, in which case jihad is a communal obligation. And obligation is a legal word. It's compulsory upon Muslims. And this is what our author is speaking of when he says jihad is a communal obligation upon the Muslims each year. Once or twice a year, it is obligatory for them to go and attack non-Muslims. That's why there were those 28 countries invaded within 3 years of Muhammad's death. Understand? That's why we had to defend ourselves, or there was going to be more. So yeah, guys, I should probably call it at this point. I finished work late and then I haven't had dinner yet again. So yeah, are there any questions? I'll give it a few minutes to take questions before I go further. But again, look at the pinned comment. You can download the database. The link to the database is there, and you can find my notes on the Crusades and more. You can use this information, learn this information, use the summary. When people say, "What about the Crusades?" Show them that and tell them, "Yeah, what about it? Right? What about the Islamic Crusades? Right? What about the Jihad? Tell me about that. What were the Muslims doing in France in 732?" So, Marek, when is the next live? When would you like the next one to be? Yeah, so Sunday I'll probably do another show with yeah, when would you guys like the next live show? When should I do this part two of this one, guys? What's your thoughts? If anyone can give me, um, I haven't thought about when to do part two yet. Would you like it this week or next week? Peter Shearer says a much manipulated word is radical, meaning extreme. Radical comes from radix, Latin meaning root. A radical worshiper goes to the root of his root. Actually, that's really very strong point. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Radical Islam is a trick to hide that. ASAP word, yeah, excellent. No, thank you guys. Muhammad ibn Faj. And this week, so okay, fine. I will do my best to do it this week. Wednesday's a public holiday here in Poland. So Wednesday's unlikely. Tomorrow night, no, maybe not. Let me see how it goes. So possibly Thursday. How's Thursday? Thursday. So let's do Thursday. I finish work at 8 on Thursday though. So let me see. I'll try probably start just after 8. So let me see. Yeah, I'll try for Thursday. Okay, I finish at 8 p.m. So I need like 15 minutes just to grab a coffee and just get some food down my throat. Guys, so I hope this was helpful so far. I don't want to continue too late. As I said, I finished work late and I haven't eaten yet. So use this information, please. And guys, smash up the likes, please. If you like this content, you found it useful. And again, put your questions in the comments. I will engage with you in the comments. And if anyone's interested in learning more, by all means, I'm looking to put together a study group so that I can come on Zoom and invite as many of you as want to come on, and we can slowly educate you and go through this so that when you do your online apologetics in the comments section on YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is, I'm happy to teach you as much of the stuff, provide the resources, show you where to find everything, how to use it, how to understand it. Nice and slowly. I know I can go a little fast because I know the stuff really well, but I've spent years on it. So if you have any interest, let me know. We are busy working on that as I speak. So guys, yeah, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate everyone being here in the chat. And really kind to see you guys, and thank you very much for the donation so far. I really do appreciate it. It goes a long way. So I have a lot of previous content from Steffi. I have a lot of previous content to catch up on this channel. Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I try to educate, and I provide all the sources that I speak from. I always show my resources on the screen, and I provide all the download links to them so you can see them. And yeah, there's no need to listen to ignorant Muslims, to lay Muslims in the comments when you can simply get it from the scholars directly. Right. So yeah. So guys, I should call it at this point. But thank you again for your time. Appreciate it. And I'll hopefully catch you guys in the comments. All right. And so yeah, let's aim for Thursday, but watch for when I post this. But I think Thursday would be good. Last question. If I can do this tomorrow, would tomorrow be fine? Or would Thursday be better? Can you just quickly, if tomorrow is good, say 1 in the comments, and if Thursday, then 2. Just type a number in the comments. 1 for tomorrow, 2 for Thursday, please. Okay, so far everyone's for tomorrow. Peter Scherer, maybe a bit more dealing with someone's YouTube videos like he did with Bill Warner today. How do you mean that, Peter? Maybe a bit more dealing with someone's YouTube video. Um, if you can just explain what you mean, or drop me a comment to explain it. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Okay, thanks, Eric. Can I see you say 2? Everyone else is looking at 1. So, okay, so I will try for 1 for tomorrow then. So I guess tomorrow there's most of the interest. And Erkan, thank you again very much for always being there and being so supportive. I appreciate it. Uh, oh, supporting documentation. Oh, of course. Okay, if it's supporting documentation, yes. I've provided some links. So don't forget, in the database, the OneNote database, have a look. It's in the pinned comment in the chat. And I will also place it into the video. It's in the description of this video. Oh, 1 and 2. Okay, no issues. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so right, commenting on the info. Okay, yeah. Oh, you mean like, okay, not just playing it, but actually commenting on the info. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I wanted to let that run through because, yeah, understood. Yeah. but also the information is available. Otherwise, we could be here forever, Mohammed. That's just, yeah, or we could be here forever discussing some of this. But understand you've been lied to. People are lying to you. This is bad history. Understand that we were the victims and we were defending ourselves. Islam is wonderful at playing the victim. So don't let them win the narrative war after they've actually conquered 75% of Christian lands. If these lands were Christian, the world would be a very different place, and we wouldn't have to deal with Muhammad with semen on his clothes. So, can I turn up my mic level as you're quiet? Okay, we just pull the mic closer. Is that a little better? Excellent, guys. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. So let me call it. So anyway, thank you. Good night, and so I guess it'll be tomorrow. So I will try and see you tomorrow at the same time then, 8 o'clock. Debbie David for 2. Yeah, but everyone, the overwhelming majority here. If I can't make it for any reason tomorrow, I'll let you guys know. But otherwise, I shall see you guys then tomorrow night for this. And Muhammad with companies. Exactly, dude. It's the truth. It's the truth. Right. Yeah. So good night, guys. You take care. Right. See you next time. Bye. Hello there, Pinpoint. Good to see you. Thanks, guys. Okay.